Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something really powerful, but it's something that often gets overlooked: storytelling. We're going to see how crafting a really compelling story for your biggest projects can literally be the difference between a total flop and a massive, celebrated win.
So, let's just kick things off with a question that I'm sure hits close to home for a lot of you. You've got the perfect plan, right? A brilliant team, everything's being executed perfectly. So why? Why do so many of these really well-designed projects still crash and burn?
Well, the answer, and you'll find this is true more often than not, isn't hiding in your project plan or your spreadsheets. Nope. It's all about the story you tell, or maybe more importantly, the story you fail to tell about the work you're doing. And that right there is the secret ingredient we're going to unpack today.
All right, so let's dig into this ghost in the machine. And look, we're not talking about a bad design or sloppy execution here. The real problem, this invisible thing that just wrecks everything, is that the program's actual value just isn't getting through to people.
And this really breaks down the heart of the problem. Think about it. When the overall vision is kind of fuzzy and people don't really get the why behind what they're doing, what happens? The whole initiative just turns into another boring list of tasks. It completely loses its meaning, its momentum, all because there's just no emotional hook. Nobody feels the value it's supposed to be creating.
Okay, so how do we fix this mess? The solution, believe it or not, is storytelling. I want you to think of it like a bridge. It's the bridge that connects the complicated, high-level strategy of your program to real people, to human understanding and that all-important emotional buy-in.
So what are we actually talking about when we say program storytelling? First off, it is not about making stuff up. It's about being a translator. You're taking all that complex data, all those confusing processes and strategies, and you're translating them into a story, a narrative that's clear, something people can relate to, and one that actually makes them feel something.
All right, so we get the what and we get the why. Now it's time for the good part, the how. How do you actually go about building this narrative bridge? Let's break down the key pieces.
First things first, it all, and I mean all, starts with having a crystal clear purpose. You've got to be able to explain not just what the program is doing, but way more importantly, why it even matters. Why does it matter to the company, and why should the people doing the work care?
Okay, next up, and this part is absolutely critical. You have to get this idea out of your head that one story is going to work for everyone. It won't. You have to be completely audience-centric. Your stakeholders are all different people with different priorities, right? They need to hear the story in a way that actually clicks with them personally.
And this is a perfect example of what I mean. For the execs, you're going to want to frame the story around the big picture, strategic goals, the bottom line, stuff you can measure. But for the employees, the ones on the front lines, the story needs to be about them. How does this make their job better? How does it help them grow? See? It's the same program, but two totally different stories.
And now for the final magical ingredient, you've got to blend data with emotion. Look, numbers, metrics, they're essential. You need them for proof. But let's be honest. On their own, they almost never inspire anyone to do anything. They need that human context to really pack a punch.
Just look at this for a second. 20%? So what? What does that even mean? A 20% improvement in what? A 20% cut? It's just a cold, hard number. It has zero impact. It tells us absolutely nothing. But now, look at this. Suddenly, that 20% performance boost has a human face. It means people felt more confident doing their jobs. It means teams actually started working together more smoothly. It means the clients, the customers, were happier. That is the story behind the data. And that's what people remember. That's what they'll rally behind.
Okay, so you've crafted this amazing story. Great, but your job isn't over, not by a long shot. A really great narrative isn't some one-and-done press release. It's a living, breathing thing. It has to be shared, it has to be nurtured.
And you have to remember this key idea. Storytelling is a dialogue. It is not a broadcast. You're not just standing on a soapbox shouting a message out into the void. You have to create a conversation. You need to invite people in to become a part of the story themselves.
And the way you do that is by building what we can call a storytelling ecosystem. So first, you need a little governance. You got to be clear about who tells the story and how often, just to keep things consistent. Then you have to actively engage people. Go out and ask for their testimonials, their success stories. And finally, you make everyone a co-owner. You empower them to share the narrative and even help shape it.
And by the way, this isn't just fluffy stuff about motivation. Having an authentic, consistent story is also an incredibly powerful tool for managing risk.
It helps you avoid those mixed messages and misunderstandings, the very things that create resistance and can just totally destroy trust in a project. All right, let's bring it home and talk about the payoff. When you really nail this, you cause this fundamental shift in how people see things. The program stops being just more work, and it starts being seen as a truly meaningful transformation.
I absolutely love this before and after here, because it's just so simple and so true. Before you have a story, your big initiative is just a checklist, a bunch of tasks on a timeline. But afterwards, once people are really bought into the narrative, it becomes this celebrated journey of impact that everyone actually wants to be a part of.
And these, right here, are the results you can expect. A great story is what connects that big, lofty vision with the actual day-to-day work. It inspires real action, not just, reluctant compliance. It makes sure your project is actually remembered long after the budget is gone, and ultimately, it gets your programs not just tolerated, but truly embraced and celebrated.
So, I want to leave you with one final question to think about. I want you to think about the most important project you're working on right now. What's its untold story? And more importantly, how can you start telling it today?